Get started. It's 4:20 p.m. December 20th, 2023. This is the Legislation and Committee of the Whole. What I'd like to do is go from top to bottom. I want to skip 3 and 5, and we'll tackle them later on. I know we did have a discussion last week regarding Ordinance 3 and Ordinance 5. We could bring that out again if we'd like. And I know a couple members weren't at the meeting, so if they had any questions, hopefully we can get you some answers. So we'll start with introduction, local law number 1. It was dated 9/6/2023, sponsored by Councilmember Colosimo Testa. Is there anything you'd like to do with
Yeah,
this?
we can actually dismiss this. I mean, I'll wait till a
We're gonna dismiss.
new administration, new council.
All right, we'll wait and we'll dismiss local law number 1. All right, we're going to move down to resolution number 4, the zoo contract.
We got committee until the new administration.
Does anybody have any discussion?
I completely agree with Mr. Williamson. I think that we ought to let the new administration work this out. It's a really long agreement, 15 years. So it means for the next 15 years, the city has no leverage in relation to the zoo. And the zoo has had a number of really serious issues lately. But I think the city ought to be able to retain, I think it's in our interest, in the city's interest, to retain some ability to have leverage over the zoo while they figure out how to manage themselves better.
I have no problem leaving it in committee for the new council. Anybody?
Can I just ask a
Disagree?
technical question? Isn't
Sure.
it really that we discharge it and the new council would, we can't put things in their committee for them, right? It's a new council. So actually we have to dismiss it and they could bring it back. Correct, Frank?
Not really. We
No?
usually discharge stuff at the beginning of the year if we don't like it.
Oh.
No, because somebody else could sponsor the actual legislation. So, I mean, either way, I don't care if you dismiss your.
Mark is still on. He can still
Yeah,
continue
Mark's
to
still,
run.
he's just still
Okay.
a sponsor. And he recommended putting it in
If
committee,
Mark
so,
wants to drop his sponsorship on it, then
Right.
it's up to him.
Then it gets dismissed.
all right, so everybody's okay to commit, right? Or keep in committee.
Yeah.
They won't even touch it. All right, proposed ordinance number 7, intersection where stop required. Let me get to it.
I think 7, 8, and 9 are under the Public Safety Commissioner's purview for a 90-day trial.
That's correct. Not the chief or the mayor, because we don't have any public safety commissioner, but.
Oh, it's the mayor.
That's
So
correct.
we're all good, we're gonna pass that tonight, right?
Well, it's not in the past, just leave them in committee until,
In
until the
committee?
future council feels what to do with it after they get their, whatever statements that they have for the individuals that live there and whatever input that they have from the police department for any type of vehicular confrontations after they had the 90-day trial. Or 60, whatever they prefer. It's up to them. You guys got a special number you want to look at, or no? You want 60, 90 days, you can set it
Well,
for
we
that.
did. We said it the last time.
It's up to you.
We said it at our committee meeting.
I said
I
60
believe
or
we said
90.
it.
I didn't make a decision.
Yeah, it was 90. It
said
was
it at
90
90.
days for
All right,
the.
everybody good for 90 days? All right.
It should already be done. To be honest with you.
Okay. We're gonna go to proposed ordinance number 3, the bond ordinance. I have to find it. Bear with me. We have it in our packet, correct?
Supposedly. I don't see it. Oh, there. I got it. There's 2 bond ordinances.
Right, 3 and 5. I'm gonna pull them out now. All right, we'll begin with, number 3, bond ordinance dated December 6, 2023, authorizing the issuance of $1,120,000 $1,120,000 serial bond of the City of Utica, Oneida County, New York, to finance the cost of certain capital projects. Now, I'll just briefly, what we discussed last time in the other meeting. We already had a bond in existence, which they never used, $470,000 for bleachers at the Sal Longo Field. So that was never issued. We never banned for it. We never bonded for it. And what they wanted to do was combine that with another bond of $650,000, and I believe it's for reconstruction of parking areas up at Valley View, as well as an electrical entrance that they have to put in by a certain date in order for the new company that bid on the project that's going to take over the restaurant, so they can get started sooner rather than later. And from what I understand, there's kind of a time frame on it because they already got commitment from a couple of the contractors that already went out to bid, and I guess they got a good price on it, and they will, once we commit to them to say we have the money secured, they could start the project. So hopefully it'll get done by the spring when golf is ready to kick in, and that whole operation will be running smoothly. So does anybody want to make any comment on proposed ordinance number 3?
I think,
Sam, go ahead.
from the last meeting that we had, my suggestion would be to keep ordinance number 3 and number 5 into committee. I still haven't received much from ordinance number 5 in regards to paving, from the discussion of the last meeting of any of the information that I had asked. And as far as number 3 goes, I think that, again, the finances in the city are not looking too hot right now, and I think that either we wait on this or you separate the bond for the parking area, because that needs to be done. And again, not my problem. So whoever's responsibility it is to separate those is going to have to be the one to do that. So if this comes out, if either one come out tonight, I'll be voting no on both of them. You don't need unanimous because it's already been presented to the council. So whatever the council chooses to do, my suggestion would be to keep it in committee. But if they want to bring it out for a vote, I will be not supporting either piece.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, is this,
Mark?
number 5, 2.5, is this for the upcoming budget, 24, 25?
No.
That is to cover expenses 2022 to 2023.
Can I,
And I did speak with the controller on it, and he recommends that we do it. It has to get paid, and, maybe when the 24, 25 comes up, you could have discussion. Instead of borrowing that money, maybe there's we have some money left in the till that we don't have to, so it'll kind of wash each other out, hopefully. I don't know, that's something for the new council to look at. So, any other questions, Mark?
No,
Okay.
so,
Joe?
sorry, we gotta pay the people.
Yeah, right.
Ready to do it.
so, I have before?
Yes.
So, I gotta be honest with you, this is the last night with this council, and if we got along and we didn't get along, for the most part, we've been pretty fiscally responsible, and it's a sin that we need to come, this has gotta come to the floor and we have to do it. That being said, it's like a little kid in the closet when the house is on fire. You're hiding from it. It's not going away. If you wait to the new administration to come in, okay, it's basically the same budget year too. So this is in 2 weeks from now when we have a new mayor here, we're still working on this old budget. So at the end of the day, the part that really bothers me, okay, is why they put those 2 ordinances together. Okay, there was no reason to do that. We have a commitment from a guy that's going to take over Valley View. We need to get that done. Okay, we don't need to build a field at Proctor Park that is going to be $400,000. Now, I'm hoping if we have to do this, I'm hoping the new mayor can come in and find a way to do something with that bond, to do it the right way. But both situations, we need to do this. I mean, we already, the paving part, that's, okay, for some
Valley View?
reason, okay, so we'll go to the 2 issues. The paving part, for some reason, okay? We went over $3 million. How we did that, I don't know. I mean, I kind of do know. We had no city engineer from the end of July on. We had no, and a budget director. I mean, they would be telling you went over, but you're not gonna tell me for a minute that they didn't know that they were going over.
It doesn't
And and it's a sin that we have to come up with it, but we owe these people
Guys
the
are
money.
making excuses.
I'm not making
No
excuses,
excuse.
you gotta pay.
No excuse.
You gotta pay the
administration's
piper.
been in this.
I'm not making
The
excuses
administration's
for
been
the-
there for 12
Listen,
years.
I'm not making excuses for
No,
anybody.
everybody
I'm just
is.
telling
Doesn't matter
you.
if you don't have a budget director, doesn't matter if you have a city
Okay,
engineer.
but the bottom line
Somebody
is.
had to be in charge.
Bottom line is, we owe the
Otherwise,
money.
nobody was in
We
charge.
owe the money, so you gotta pay it. This is the bottom line.
Well,
We owe the
I
money.
still haven't gotten anything, any of the information that I asked for at the last meeting. Stop making
So-
excuses. It's irresponsible.
Number
Somebody
one,
should be
please
held
don't tell me
responsible.
what to do.
All right, one person
That's
at a
number
time.
one.
Joe, you have the
We
floor.
just need to,
What?
well, I'm just saying, I'm
What
not
did I tell
making
you what to do?
excuses. You said stop making excuses.
Because you said there was no engineer, and
Well, I'm
there was
just
no budget
telling you,
director.
there was-
It's not an
right.
excuse.
Okay, but it went on. It's an
All right,
explanation.
anybody else?
And that's the
Any
bottom line.
comments
We
on
gotta
this?
pay.
It's not an explanation. It's disgusting.
I know we're going in three, we're discussing 3 and 5 right now. It was supposed to be 3, but that's fine. We can do
Sorry.
3 and 5. Doesn't matter.
It's the same thing.
It's gonna come out anyway. Anybody else, any council members have any discussion? Otherwise, I think, I don't know if it's coming out, but we'll find out when we have our regular meeting, whether we're going to, bring it out of committee or
So
not.
I just have a little bit more to say about the paving bonding. So one of the things I pulled out, I asked the clerks to pull for me every ordinance in the last 4 years for all for all bonding. I'm actually really surprised how little we have bonded for paving over the last 4 years. $500,000 in 2020.
Yes, that was the COVID year.
That was
We
the
were-
COVID
We were
year.
worried, yep.
We were worried, so
Yeah.
in fact, we had to pass a local law to scale back from 5 million to 3 million. So that was in 2020. 2.5 million in 2021
Right, that's
for paving. And that's it. In the last 4 years, we've only bonded $3 million for paving.
Right, because you're now bonding for 22, 23, so that's another 2.5, plus you're gonna have to borrow in addition 2.5 for 24, 25 now. So, I mean, you're still on track of what you're supposed to do. The problem is that we budgeted for $2 million in our budget last year to go for paving, because we said that that was what it's gonna go for. Nobody's explained, there's a difference between paving inside the city and the paving plan, and that needs to be separated, because you weren't supposed to use any of the money for anything else other than mill and fill, reconstruction of roads, and that's it. Not sidewalks, not curbs, and that needs to be separated, because it's
could-
gotta be explained.
I agree with all of that, Sam. Was surprised when I pulled every ordinance for bonds, 3 million in 4 years.
Well, because we got $64 million in ARPA funding that should've went for infrastructure.
But you couldn't do
Yeah,
that in the
it's,
beginning.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still, I was surprised by how
At
little
the end, they-
we
yeah.
have borrowed for paving in 4 years. I was
Right.
just very surprised.
Councilman Miola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did what they call a budget run, guys, and what we paid on paving for the past 3 years to date. So what you do is when you get a circumstance like this, you want to check if you actually need the money. You go back 3 years. Everybody knows that sometimes we turn around and we have money left over in those accounts. We don't get all the roads done, or we do get all the roads done. So in the future, when you guys are sitting here, you check into the line items that were posted for the expenses and the revenues. For example, you can check the revenue side of all of it by looking at your budget. It's on page 77 or 78 of your budgets, okay? So what we need from the controller's office is the expense side. So if you took into account the expenses in 2022, that's the year end, so that's the beginning of March, March of 31st, that's the year end. You're looking at 6.5 million, okay? Got your pens out? 6,540,341. That's exactly what we spent, okay? 2023, we spent only $3,218, $3,218.04 we spent. In year 24, which is the year to date, this is what they came in. This is including your the whole $8 million of this year. We had $8,033,524. Okay, that's a total expense for the past 3 years of $17,791,869. Okay? That's the total amount.
Say the total amount.
$17,791,869.
Over the last 3 years.
3 years. Okay, so don't forget, budgets roll over. So in 2023, we didn't spend the $5 million that we got. Okay, so now here's on the revenue side. Let's go on the revenue side of your budgets. All right, and the revenue side of your budget, this is just all from your controller's office, just the revenue side. That added up to $18,775,068. Okay, the reason why they need this money, okay, what's not included, what they're telling you, is that we normally get our CHIPS money in March. So at the end of March, we get that CHIPS, that last chip draw, and that's $3.5 million, usually, all right? That's not even what we budgeted. That's what she knows that she's going to get. What we budgeted, what we all voted on in those 3 years, added up to over $19 million. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is that this may be, the 2.5 is for cash flow. The controller's office may be able to pay it back once they receive the March 31st draw from the CHIPS. Okay? Or they're gonna use it for something else. Now,
It's December, you're saying we didn't get this past March? We haven't gotten our CHIPS money from the state?
no, our CHIPS money for the 2023-24 budget is received March
31st, right,
of
right.
2024.
Right.
Okay? That's when we get the CHIPS money
We
for
get
it.
it on the last day of the budget.
Correct.
So where's our $12 million bond, or surplus?
That's
You
what I
can't
was
use that
just,
cash flow?
yeah, that's what I was just
I mean,
gonna
come
ask.
Oh, no.
And they need to put this.
I'm not
I don't- I
debating,
don't
wait,
think
I'm not
it's
debating with
but I
you.
really do.
I'm not debating, you can also use the $12 million surplus. You're right, for cash flow. You're also right.
I mean, yeah,
So it's up to the council
They
on
gotta
that
put-
one.
They gotta put this in
So.
writing.
but
It's
can
up to
I
the
ask,
council.
can I ask one question about that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, do you still have the floor?
No, go ahead.
So, we've been hearing for the last 4 years or 5 years, how
You're
much
done for the night?
of a
No, I'll be back in probably less than an hour.
how much we have in, surplus.
Yeah.
Okay, and I realize if they say you got 13 million, it's not like you have 13 million in your bank account, it's what's owed to us. Why can't we take, I'm sure there's 9 or 10 million, why can't we borrow?
You could borrow from your own bank and pay back. I'm not saying that.
So, I mean, why can't we do that?
They want to continue their cash flow. They want to continue to have that chunk of money in their
But-
account, because, like, guys, I'll tell you what happened in the past. We used a lot of our reserve, and towards the end of March, beginning of March, I would say the end of February, all right? We ran out of money. We couldn't pay salaries for city employees. So being a budget director is realistically about cash flow.
Right,
Knowing where money's coming in, just like, for example, our sales tax revenues, okay?
Right.
That comes in on a quarterly basis. If we get a good draw on our last quarter, which normally is a good draw, because it's around Christmas time, everybody's buying stuff, they're going crazy online, they're buying all kinds of stuff. So our last quarterly draw usually is pretty high.
As well as
Okay.
hockey season.
As long as hockey season. So that may cover the 2.5 mil. Now, it's up to us to give the controller's office the opportunity. He may not take this $2.5 million out. He may not take it out. It's up to us to give him the opportunity to say, if you need it, it's there. That's all it is.
but isn't your bond, the money that we're over?
Right.
Isn't that there for stuff like this, a rainy day, when
Correct.
you have a problem?
But the reserve fund is for cash flow, absolutely, Joe.
Right, isn't it there for that? So,
Is it,
I mean, I just don't number one, I'm very, very disappointed how this happened. And, I mean, Councilperson Testa, she might disagree with me, and I'm sure the guy upstairs knew when extra paving was going on, and I'm sure they did. But if there was somebody there watching daily, the invoices coming in, and I think it could have been avoided, and it wasn't.
Joey,
And
be straight up, they were in good doing North Utica roads.
they
They were
know
holding
were.
up.
Well,
You know that. And you,
Well, and I also know why, as long as
and
you're
that
gonna
was
bring
$500,000 right there.
Well, they did that.
They did it. and
Why? Why were they gonna take North Utica
You
roads
had,
off?
you're right, you had them on a docket, you should have got the roads, but that is one of the reasons, so now you know.
Well,
Alright? So now you know.
listen, but that was 300,000, not 2.5 million. And number one, as long as you wanna bring it out, they were taking North Utica's roads off because I was the person who spearheaded the complete street thing. They took it off the next day. Yeah, I said, what, the guy told me right face to face, that's why the mayor put him back on.
Well,
So,
that's the reason.
so, whatever.
Can I
Listen,
ask
the
a
whole
question on
problem's
the?
got
Bottom
to
line
pay the
is-
bill anyways, like you said.
The bottom line is, instead of arguing about it, we gotta fix it.
That's right.
Right,
What-
and it's
sorry.
2.5 million. I talked to the controller, he recommended that we
Yeah.
borrow it.
Now, he may need it,
Um,
he may not need it, he may not
Right,
need
at
it.
least pass it, you could file for it, and then
He's got
you
the
may
option.
have extra money next year, so you don't have to borrow the 2.5 million when it comes, in the
Correct.
budget year. So I don't know, I don't know
Just
what
a
else to say.
general question. When it
I
comes to
mean,
the-
I gotta go with the recommendation of,
Our controller.
the controller. I
I
saw him
agree.
just before I walked in.
Yeah.
He
Well, how
actually
come he
had-
doesn't come here and talk to us?
He's going home. He's got sick parents,
Okay,
Joseph.
but I mean, you know, that, she's right about a lot of stuff she says. You guys want us to do this stuff, but you don't come and give us the information.
It's also true, we get nice cash reports from the controller, but he never comes and actually talks these things through.
I mean,
Be nice.
you know, this is an important thing. This is the last meeting of the year, okay? This should be a Merry Christmas, farewell to our colleagues who are leaving, and we gotta come here and put something in front of us that we didn't really have anything to do with,
I
okay?
agree.
I mean, it ain't right, and especially the bond for the Proctor Park thing there, that you're gonna take one bond and do another bond and put money into a field that you don't even need, and you gotta tie the two together. I got a real problem with that. Granted, you know, you had the money we need to get Valley View done, but we don't need to spend $400,000 in Proctor Park. But you can't pass one without the other.
let me just explain what was told to me, because I made a few phone calls. They said that's a low spot area right there. So even if we just made it a plain field,
Right.
it still needed drainage, and
Right.
most of that money that's going to that spot
300,000
is for
in
drainage.
Yes,
And the
300,000
rest, they're just gonna make the field look perfect.
Right.
They did promise me that they were going to mow it, and they don't have to weed whack it around, because they're gonna put a material underneath the fence all the way around the field. So it's gonna look neat, because I complained, I walked in that park, and it's an eyesore when you don't take
Right,
care of
and-
it, and the weeds are this high around the
Right.
fence, and the grass is this high on the field. In the infield, you can't even see it, because there's not even dirt, it's covered with grass and sod. It's just, it did look like an eyesore. But they said the main reason they want to do it, maybe keep it as a field, they already have the field set up, is for drainage purposes, especially with that, whatever's going on over there. They just feel
Yeah,
it's
you
a
got the
low
skate
spot,
park.
and they
And
want
you
to.
got the whole park looking good, and you got an eyesore in the middle.
Right.
I get it. I
Right, so if
get
they
it.
took it apart, it
But-
still would flood, and it still would be a bad area.
Jimmy, most of the money is just for
That's what they're
drainage.
saying. I don't know.
I get
mean,
it, but at the end of the day, that right there, that bothers me, considering the money that we had from ARPA, and it shouldn't have happened, okay? And I get it in the beginning, you could only use the ARPA money for certain things, nobody knew what was going on, you had to allocate it all by the end of the year, but it was spent irresponsible at the end. We should have had a few, $5-6 million left for shortfalls, and we could have did that very easily. And, you know, like I said, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's a problem that's in our lap, and we gotta fix it. And it's not gonna go away. It's like a house burning down. Kid's gonna go in a closet. He's gonna hide for a little while, but sooner or later, the house is going up. You gotta fix the problem.
Yep.
So.
Can I chime in with a question on the reserve
Yeah,
fund?
sure.
Aren't we supposed to have what was the recommendation? Like
5%.
5%?
Yep,
For
of
that?
the
Okay.
80 million.
Okay.
Yep.
But then I thought we did better, the more cash flow we have on hand, the better
Yes,
the
it is.
credit rating is, and that's super important.
No, 5%.
I thought it was 15%. I don't know
5%
where that
reserve
came from.
helps us keep, so we can take out loans
Okay.
So
efficiently.
it hurts you if you take money out of it too, right?
Yes, and not put it back by the end of the year. See, that's the whole thing.
5% would only be 4 million.
No, that's just the reserve fund. There's another fund called the general fund.
Right.
There's a reserve fund, then there's a contingency
I
fund.
was thinking general fund.
Yep.
So if you got the opportunity and you got that, and you had that money in there, and it's always stagnant, or if you're moving money in and out, but at the end of the year, that money is still there, the bonding company looks at that, and they say, hey, listen, you guys did a good job. You kept your bank without blowing the money. You guys know, every time you turn around, when you're running in your homes, sometimes you run out of cash flow. You have a big cash flow problem, and that's what that fund's for.
Mhm.
So when you don't have the money, you know it's coming in, but you don't have it at that time, it's there for that purpose only.
Any other questions on 3 and 5?
I'm just not happy.
I think we'll call it quits and we're gonna meet.
Motion,
Well, we can relax till 6 o'clock, boys.
Why'd we
and
start so
girls.
early?
Frank, you wanna get here early?
Oh, okay.
I didn't say 4:30. I said 4:30 the last meeting, so the department heads
We
didn't
do
have to
some new
go home and come back.
legislation coming in, But we have to wait till 6 o'clock.
But that's fine. We got everything cleaned up in committee of the whole. I'm happy about that.
Yep.
I don't know if it's gonna still be the committee of the whole with the next council meeting, but we'll
There's
find out
cookies and coffee in
sooner
the back.
rather than
Everybody
later.
wants cookies and coffee.
All right.
Colleagues, just wrap up your conversations. We'd like to start with ordinance number 1 in a few minutes. Please, you have a couple minutes to wrap up your conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to grab the deputy clerk and clerk?
No.
This is the caucus, right? Yeah, let me go grab it.
So you come tomorrow?
Perfect.
How do I find you?
Okay, so you both come. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Legislation to be discussed in our pre-meeting conference dated December 20, 2023. I'd like to start with ordinance number 1, sponsored by Councilwoman Aiello. It's an ordinance amending J Street and 2nd Street to a 4-way stop. Councilwoman Aiello, are you in favor of this amendment?
I am.
Okay. Any discussions on ordinance number 1? Discussions closed on ordinance number 1. Ordinance number 2, no parking at all times, southwest curb line, 2nd Street, including 30 feet south from J Street. That's that intersection by Mount Carmel, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Aiello sponsored this no parking at all times sign. Councilman Aiello, are you in favor of this legislation?
I am.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this piece of legislation? Discussion is closed. Okay, our next piece of legislation is calling for a public hearing for the sale of 1119 Stark Street. This legislation is sponsored by Councilman Burmaster. Councilman Burmaster, are you in favor of advertising for the sale of 1119 Stark Street?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The following piece of legislation is ordinance number 4 that needs to be referred to committee. Our next piece of legislation is sponsored by Councilwoman Aiello for the sale of 406 Blaine Dynasty. It's calling for a public hearing. Are you in favor of calling for the public hearing?
Yes,
Councilwoman
I
Aiello?
am.
The following piece, ordinance number 6, refer to committee, the sale of the property. Our next piece of legislation is sponsored by Councilwoman Aiello for the sale of 746 J Street. Councilwoman Aiello, are you okay with the advertising for that street for a public hearing?
Yes.
Following piece of legislation is for the sale of 746 J Street, refer to committee. Our next piece of legislation is sponsored by Councilman Irving for calling for a public hearing for the sale of 135 Gold Street. Councilman Irving, are you in favor of this, of the calling for a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 10 for the sale of 135 Gold Street, refer to committee. Next piece of legislation sponsored by Councilman Irving for calling for a public hearing for the sale of 1525 Steuben Street. Are you in favor of calling for the public hearing?
Yeah.
Following piece of legislation, number 12, refer to committee. Okay, our next piece of legislation is an E&A transfer. The only person, Mike is here. Can you give us see, they don't put the explanation, see below, okay.
There's a slightly different pattern now, which is the explanations are under each individual line for the transfer. So you see individual explanations.
To cover miscalculated salary budget, to cover parks overtime,
Exactly.
all right. Okay, colleagues, you wanna just glance this over with a
Where's
little
the other
bit?
transfers?
Don't look at me. I'm not in charge of putting them in the backup.
It's interesting. All right, carry on.
There's more?
Is that part interesting? No, that part's not interesting.
The fact that they're not in.
The fact that I'm not in charge of putting them in the packet.
Oh, right. Yeah. Let me just go check.
Okay, this needs unanimous. Is there any discussion on this piece of legislation? Okay, discussion is closed on ordinance number 13. Ordinance number 14, sponsored by Councilwoman Aiello, no parking at all times, North Kirk, Columbia Street, and 112 feet west of the first marked parking spot. Is that organized? Does Mark know we would have put the signs on this one, Kate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it, can I just ask, why is it 112 feet?
It's going to be right where the deltas trucks go in and park for everything. So when they try to, if there's somebody parked there, the trucks can't get in.
Okay.
So.
Any additional discussions on ordinance number 14? Ordinance 14 is closed. Okay. We're on resolution number 15, placement of honorary sign. Just want to give you guys a little background. Everybody knows Lucretia Hunt here. Who doesn't know Lucretia Hunt? Raise your hand. Okay, everybody knows Lucretia Hunt. Her home is on Bleecker and Kasuth. She's been there all her life. Her parents been there all her life. That house has been in the family for a very long time. She watched the change on Bleecker Street, and she's always an advocate. I've never seen a woman sit on more boards than her.
Can this be full council, please?
Is there anybody object to the full council? Okay. This is just hyphenated, it's not changing the name of the street, and I can't wait to see the sign up. I hope everybody attends for the unveiling of the sign. Thank you, colleagues. Go ahead.
My only commentary is it just says, oh, never mind. It's there.
You good?
Yeah, yep, we're good. I didn't see the authorized placement of the sign.
Our next piece of legislation is a proclamation for Frankie DeBrango Jr. Everybody in support of this proclamation?
Can these also be full council?
Full council good? Okay. Our next piece of legislation is a proclamation for President Galimi. Full council?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, council members. The Thursday rule needs to be waived for the rest of it. Anybody against waiving the Thursday rule for the rest of the piece of these legislations? Nope?
Nope.
Everybody in favor?
Yep.
Okay. Next piece of legislation is a proclamation for our member Celeste Friend. Full council? Our clerk's not here, but I will mention it to her, or Mike can mention it to her, all right? Our next piece of legislation, oh, you don't want full council on this one. Does everybody want this one?
Yes.
All right, full council.
Good, Sam.
Yeah, that's, you didn't see that one. Okay, our next piece of legislation is a proclamation for Freeman and Foot Jewelers, sponsored by Councilwoman Aiello. Want to give us a quick summary of what you
Yeah,
want to
they're going out of business after 98 years. Heidi wants to retire, so they've been great asset on the busy corner for almost a century now. So I thought we should honor them. Would love full council if everybody's interested.
Council okay with a full council on this one?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion is closed on number 20.
Oh, really?
We have another
Our-
one.
Yeah, we have one more. This is the lease, I guess,
Oh, no, there's another one.
easement.
There's another
I think there's
proclamation.
another one.
Another one?
Yeah, there's another
All
proclamation.
right, we'll hold off on that.
Proclamation.
Let's get to number 21 that was handed to us by our deputy clerk, Andrew. It's resolution 21. It's an easement for National Grid and Verizon. It's because of the, I think the ice skating ring. Am I correct, council?
Yes.
Okay. They need this done as soon as possible so we can keep the development of the ice skating ring moving forward. Is there any questions to the easement for the power? God bless you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion's closed on it. It is a resolution, and all we need to do is get that one completed. Okay. That's, oh,
Is there another piece on the E and A transfer?
No, because those, I was thinking because they were such large sums, they were arbitrary. The council opted to not
Oh, okay.
see those.
okay.
We're over
4 months left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is, that, wow.
And it's not as bad as when Palmieri took over, I'll tell you that right now, not even close. Is there any other business council members you'd like to go over during our, meeting?
So what are we doing with things in committee?
Our committee stuff, let's see.
Mark, what are you saying?
The, local law, Samantha would like that dismissed.
Dismissed, yeah.
Okay, how much
The
is-
ordinance removing traffic island is gonna remain in committee. The bond ordinance, we are voting on. The zoo contract, you'd like to amend it?
I'd like to amend it.
Okay. The bond ordinance, we are voting on. Ordinance number 7 and 8 and 9, we're leaving in committee for 90 days for see what happens after 90 days. Any discussions on, what we're going to do? Okay, council. We did great. We have another 45 minutes to, enjoy each other's company, and, we'll start the main meeting. Thank you.
All right. We should have On December 20th. This is the final regularly scheduled Common Council meeting that we're about to begin for this legislative session. Clerk, please call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Friend, Miola, Urban, Beatrice, Williamson, Classimo Testa, DeBrango, Galimi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the deceased members of the council. First order of business this evening is the minutes of the previous meeting. We do have the minutes posted on E-Code 360 for the council and the public to view.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, please, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. President.
Second from DeBrango. Any opposed? The reading of the minutes have been dispensed and they are accepted. Thank you. Public hearing. We don't have a public hearing on anything this evening, so we're moving on. The public hearing is now closed. Public comment period. We have two people signed up to speak this evening. The first is Jeff Donahue. If you could please approach. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record and you may begin. Thank you.
It's Jeffrey Donahue, and I live at 2601 Dunham Road. And I'm here today to inquire about or get some clarification about the installation of a traffic triangle that's directly in front of my house. I would like to know why none of the neighbors were informed or consulted about this project. As far as the traffic study that was conducted, besides painting the road, what else was done? No mobile speed sign was set up, no traffic counter was installed. Has there been a high amount of MVAs or MVA pedestrians? What is the reason for shrinking the road from 27 foot to 23 foot in the traffic circle or triangle? Especially with bus traffic in both directions when school lets out on Eastwood. What is the purpose of the 5 foot of concrete inside the triangle that isn't a sidewalk but looks like one? Do you think kids are going to know the difference? Also, shrinking the road essentially leaves no room for parking in front of multiple homes in that area. Lastly, with the stop sign installed in front of the end of my driveway and the proposed no parking signs, I feel this project was poorly thought out and directly affects the value of my house that I have invested tens of thousands of dollars in. The same result could have been achieved with a smaller project and still allow for parking in front of the houses affected. Would anyone have approved this if it was in front of their house? Thank you.
Donnie, you may approach. Thank you. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244 Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Please state your name and you may begin.
My name is Donna Beckett, and I'm not quite prepared for this, but I really wanted to speak. And I know it's the last meeting for this term, and next time there will definitely be interesting and new feelings about it, especially after the 12 years of the current mayor. And that reminds me, last week, because I was thinking about the fact that this is the last term for him, I called Lou Critelli, and he's doing pretty well, actually. And I met Lou about 7 years ago. It had to do with no hospital downtown, And then I became involved with him when it came to that, changing the terms. So, so we've had a lot of experiences together. But I was glad to know that he's doing okay. He's still living at home with help. His mind is still strong. He's had some health issues. He said he couldn't play golf for the first time this past summer. He's 97, so. But I tried to call him today to ask permission to share something with you. And I don't think he'll mind me doing this. But back 7 years ago when I first met him, and I said to him, I said, Lou, so you were in the council back when it was Rufus Elephant. I said, so how was that working with Rufus? You know, did he ever tell you what to do? And he said, yes, he would try to tell me what to do, but I wouldn't do it. But then he would put me in a primary, his way of punishing him. So, so that was interesting to hear that story. So, and this kind of goes on to the next topic, which is that, and I've said it before, and as a matter of fact, this afternoon I took time to listen to what Ron said a few weeks ago, along with Eugene Bradley spoke one time too about the young people and what the city should provide, and Ron was giving his perspective about including the citizens, including the residents. And it has to be more than just newsletters, transparencies, public hearings, because most people who have contact with government on a regular basis realize public hearings are they're put there because they have to be there. Doesn't really mean that the elected officials do as the residents have asked. Okay, that happens over and over again. Reminds me of another story of about 6 or 7 years ago. Someone who sometimes sits in this room has said, I heard, once I've been told that once that we're elected, we can do whatever we want. Well, I can understand how that would happen with human nature. You're busy, you've got jobs, families, you've got your neighborhoods, you've got your ideas, and you want to see those things come through. But many of you know that the public expects elected officials to do what's commonly good for everybody. And that gentleman speaking about his street being, without spending money, without any discussion about it, okay? So, and the other things that have happened, I don't live in Utica, Utica sign over there. And I think, is that really a good way to spend money? But obviously the things are public safety, the crime. And I say that I've lived in this area my entire life, and there was a time when I would leave work downtown Utica, not 10 years ago, and walk at 5 o'clock, walk to the Parkway, to McDonald's, and walk back again. And yes, you'd get stopped by somebody under the influence of drugs, but it was never unsafe. I no longer feel that way, and it's a strange feeling that I know that guns and things. So anyway, it's true, young people, boy. And which it was wonderful to see Mike Galimi on TV and how he had met with people. And as a matter of fact, I will tell you the rest of that story when you talk about transparency and understanding about what takes place. I called Jared on the phone after that. I said, Jared, did you see that? And he said, no, I didn't. So he pulled it up and he saw it. And I said, well, the rest of that story, I said to him, I wonder if Mike asked to speak to them or did they ask to speak to Mike? And I wonder if Mike called in media or they called in media. So it's interesting how I've learned those things by coming to these meetings. So, but and I'm not in love with Utica, and I tell my siblings, some of them have moved away, I'm connected to Utica. I was born at St. Elizabeth's, 12 years at Catholic schools. I'm grateful for that, and Utica has a certain fabric, a tapestry, and I say that because my generation, and it continues, Italian, German, Polish, Irish, Lebanese, Syrian, then we had Russians and Bosnians and Asians, and boy, you talk about those early groups that came here and built Utica. It's wonderful that we have that. It's hard work, it's family, and that's who we are, I feel. So thank you. So.
Thank you. That is the last speaker this evening. We have no guests. There are no communications from the mayor. Reports from the city officers. Chief Ingersoll.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Corporation Counsel.
Nothing to report.
Deputy Chief Noonan.
Just on behalf of the Utica Police Department, I'd like to thank the outgoing council people, Councilwoman Friend, Councilman Miola, Councilman Durango, for your support over the years. We're really fortunate to have a council people like you that support the police department and allowed us to, get everything we need to do the job. So I want to thank you on behalf of the police department as a resident as well. I'd like to thank you. It's I get to see firsthand it's a thankless job and very difficult, and you need people to serve the community. It's not easy. So as a resident, I want to thank you too.
Thank you very much. That concludes reports from the city's officers. We do have a cash report.
City of Utica cash report for November 2023 totals $53.362 million received and filed.
Thank you. Petitions, remonstrances, and appeals. First District, Councilmember Key-Ayo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Second District, Councilmember Robert Burmaster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo on what Deputy Chief said. Good luck to you, Mike.
Thank you.
Frank, Celeste, gonna miss you. Everyone to get together, give me a call, coffee. I'll buy. I like it. But gonna miss you. Had a good learning experience from each and every one of you. Mike, good luck with your new endeavors, and be safe for the holidays and enjoy and spend time with your family.
Thank you. Third District, Councilmember Celeste Friend, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to talk about two things. I'll try to be brief. As I'm sure everybody is aware, in the last month, we've had 2 more pedestrian fatalities, bringing our annual total to 4. So we're a small city, and we've killed 4 people this year crossing the roads. And lots more people injured. I don't have a number on that. Now, first what I'll say is that there's lots of evidence. This is part of a nationwide spike. The New York Times just did a big article about this. It was going down, down, down until 2010, and in 2010, it started rising. So like the curve, the graph is an actual V, where it was really going down, and now it's been really going up. And they think that the most, the thing that best explains that is the shape and size of cars. So big trucks and big pickup trucks and big SUVs have longer hoods and literally give the driver less perceptible range, so they see less of what's in front of them. And also people are, when they are hit, they're being hit in their middle of their bodies, being hit in their chests, and being knocked down to the ground and more likely to be driven over, whereas 30 years ago you were more likely to be hit below your center of gravity and land on a hood. So the design of cars is unwittingly causing a higher rate of traffic fatalities when pedestrians get hit. So it's not just like it's just Utica's. This is not just a Utica problem, it's a nationwide problem. But the other really interesting point of data is that Hoboken, New Jersey hasn't had a single pedestrian death in 6 years. So there's stuff going on nationwide that is not Utica alone, but at the same time, there must be things that cities can do that do, in fact, change the likelihood, make being a pedestrian safer. I don't know what Hoboken does. I'd love to know, but they must be doing something that is radically. They haven't had a single pedestrian death in 6 years, and they're a city at least as large as we are. So I would just, it should be safe to cross the road. It should be. And of course, it's easy to blame pedestrians when they don't cross at crosswalks and don't obey traffic lights, etc. But in the same time, we don't create an infrastructure which makes it safe to cross the road. So we don't create that infrastructure for safety, and then the tendency, though, is to blame the pedestrian when they don't do it safely. So I think that this is a real problem. I would love to see the city get better and to hurt fewer people who are just trying to cross the road. The other interesting fact that came out of, I think it was in the New York Times article, is that the people getting hit and killed not in Utica, but in general across the country, are young people in their 20s on their way out of work at like retail establishments. So people who work, for example, in restaurants, etc. That's the cross section of who is most likely to get hit in a traffic accident. So I would really love to see the city figure out how we can, like Hoboken, get better at that and make the city a safer place for pedestrians. So just the last thing I'll say is this has been the best and hardest experience of my life. I've loved it and hated it sometimes, every now and then, but mostly loved it, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. 4th District and Majority Leader Frank Miola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was fun. You're right. It was a good time. And we all had a good time here. We all discussed, and some of them were heated, some were passionate, and other times we made each other laugh. And we got a great group of people. And Mayor-elect Galimi, you got a lot of knowledge at this table. I hope you tap into some of your council members and your future decisions. And I know the city's going to move forward. You got a great group of people who are elected, and the city's dependent on you. There's a lot of people who, do the best they could with their budgets, and I know that you will make the best decisions for the future of the city of Utica. I got a lot of faith in everybody here, and I also like to wish everybody in the city of Utica a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and enjoy every moment with your family. It's something that we need to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. 5th District, Councilman Venice Irvin, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President and Mayor-elect Galimi, for coming to a meeting that you didn't have to last Saturday. I was thrilled that you got out alive. You got there a little late, and they were torturing me before you got there, so I was glad to see that you could make it. Also, thank you to all of the council members and the president of the council that are leaving. Thank you for your service, and I get that from being in the military. Thank you for your service and the job that you guys did and how you helped me when I came in replacing a former councilman. Thank you for that. And Merry Christmas, and everybody have a Happy New Year.
Thank you. 6th District, Councilman Joe Beatrice, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First thing I'd like to do is wish everybody in the city, especially the people in the 6th Ward, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And then I guess I'm going to repeat what everybody says. This is, it's hard to believe that I went through 4 years on this council already. And I want to thank every one of you guys who helped me out. President-elect Galimi, you were always there for me from the beginning. Both Franks, you were always there. I wished all you guys the best of luck in the future, in all your future endeavors. And like I said, it's very sad, when we're all leaving, whenever, I got to look at it, when every door closes, a new one opens. I'm looking forward to working with a new council. I'm looking forward to calling you Mayor Galimi instead of Mr. President. And I hope we move forward and everything goes good, which I'm very confident it will. And lastly, I want to thank everybody. Last Wednesday, we had a renaming of the Central Firehouse in honor of Chief Russell Brooks. And I want to thank Chief with helping out with that. And it was a great ceremony. And thanks to everybody who was involved in it. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and have a great night.
Council at Large and Minority Leader Mark Williamson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy holidays to the city of Utica, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Council at Large, Samantha Colasmo Testa, you have the floor.
I'm going to talk for about 25 minutes, so everybody better be ready.
We're running early.
All jokes aside, I think that, a couple of things. Number one, it's my son's birthday, so I want to wish my son Mello happy 10th birthday. He was sick earlier today, but he's in better spirits, and he missed school today, which he was upset about, which normally he's not upset about, but he had cupcakes for his classmates, and I was very appreciative of his teacher because they sang him happy birthday and she sent me the video for it. I can go into a lot of detail of my feelings about these past 2 years. You know, everybody's happy and go lucky, but it hasn't been a fun 2 years for me. I think the lack of transparency, I think the lack of communication, I think the lack of everything that has happened in this council has been a detriment that this new council is going to have to face because of those actions. And it's frustrating to know that this new year is not going to come off to a good start. I was back on the council when I first started in 2011, and the city faced an $8 million deficit, and it was not fun. And I think moving forward, it's kind of going to be in that same realm, knowing that the city spent $64 million on things that they shouldn't have, knowing that infrastructure and for public safety, so on and so forth, has been, you know, put to the wayside, especially when it comes to the infrastructure for those departments. So it was a very frustrating 2 years, and I'm glad it's over. And I look forward to working with a new administration, and I hope that the word transparency, and I know it'll mean something to you and hopefully the rest of the council. So that's all I got to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. President Pro Temp and Council at Large, Frank DeBrango, you have.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wish everybody happy holidays. Enjoy your family. 2 big days coming up. Christmas Eve at my house. I go to my son's on Christmas Day, so it's always good to enjoy your family. The outgoing members, great time. 6 years went by fast. The incoming members, good luck. I wish Michael luck. If Joe, I'll get my daily phone call from. Hopefully that'll continue after January. Well, we always chat, and he's got it down pat. When he goes sees his mom in the nursing home, I think I'm on speed dial. So we have our daily talk. It was very good. So I appreciate all the support from everybody that voted for me, and I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday and enjoy your family. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so it's been 8 years as council president. It's been 4 different councils, 1 mayor. And we're all moving on in a way. Next year we'll start a new council, new legislative session, a new administration, which I'm obviously looking forward to. But first and foremost, to the people in this room, even the people sitting in the audience, thank you. Many of you are always engaged, come to almost every single meeting. To the council, whether we were dealing with something controversial or something uplifting or something where we just had to get the business of the city done, what goes underappreciated is the time people spend. And I've watched every single person in this room spend so much time. And regardless of what people may think, I've watched every single person over the last 8 years do the job the way they saw fit. They were elected, they wanted to do it the way they wanted to do it, and that's how they proceeded. That's part of government. We take an oath, we get involved, and that's what we do. So just to everybody, thank you. As far as the season goes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hope everyone's New Year is great. I'd like to second what many of you have already said. Spend time with your family and appreciate those who are around you. So let's carry on and get on with this meeting. Thank you. All right. The first piece, proposed ordinance 1, intersections where stops required.
Second it, Mr. President, sponsored by Councilwoman Ayala.
Okay. Be it ordained that section 216.358, Schedule C, intersections where stops required, be amended to include the following. We're going to strike J Street and 2nd Street, southeast and northwest corners, and replace, in highlighted print, J Street and 2nd Street four-way stop. Be it further ordained that the proper signage be erected. Is that correct?
Yep.
We good?
Yep.
Your votes?
9 yeas adopted.
Proposed ordinance 2.
Second, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. It's sponsored by Councilmember Aiello. No parking at all times. Be it ordained, Section 216-360, Schedule E, no parking at all times to be amended to include the following: southwest curb line of 2nd Street to include 30 feet south from J Street. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
Next piece is calling for a public hearing on the sale of 1119 Stark Street. This is by the Urban Renewal Agency to Eliana Sharmardak for a sum of $250 to create additional parking. The public hearing will be held Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. Your votes are, this is sponsored by Councilmember Burmaster. Who's the
Second,
second?
Mr. President. Oh, go ahead.
Councilperson Friend. Your votes. Ordinance 4.
I'd like to make a motion to commit, please, Mr.
Oh,
President.
hang on, we got one more vote here. Councilmember Aiello. There we go.
9 yeas adopted.
Thank you.
Motion to commit ordinance number 4, please, Mr. President.
Ordinance 4 is the sale of 1119. Is there a second? All right, Burmaster's the second. Any opposed to committing this? It's in committee. Proposed resolution number 5 is calling for a public hearing on the sale of 406 Blandina Street, Santa Maribel Garcia Duarte, sum of $250.
Second, Mr. President.
All right, this is sponsored by Aiello. Any, your votes?
9 yeas adopted.
Okay. Ordinance 6 is the sale of 406 Blandina Street.
Make a motion to commit.
Any opposed? It's in committee. Proposed resolution number 7, calling for public hearing on 746 G Street, sum of $250 to Bayros Magic. January 3rd will be the public hearing. Sponsored by Aiello, seconded by Burmaster. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
Public hearing is called. Ordinance number 8 is the sale.
Motion to commit, please, Mr. President.
Second.
Okay, Aiello's the second. Any opposed? It's in committee. Resolution number 9 is calling for a public hearing in the sale of 135 Gold Street to Edelmira Moda Jose. It's a sum of $25,000. January 3rd will be the public hearing, sponsored by Councilmember Irvin, second by Burmaster. Your votes.
Gary, second.
District 1, 4, and 5. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
Okay. Proposed ordinance 10 is the
Motion
sale.
to commit. Motion to commit.
Thank you. Any opposed? It's in committee. Next piece is calling for a public hearing on the sale of 1525 Steuben Street.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second from Friend. It's sponsored by Councilmember Irvin. It's a sum of $35,000 to Nabil Carabajo. Your votes in the public hearing.
Nine yeas adopted.
Proposed ordinance 12.
Motion to commit.
Any opposed? Sales in committee. All right, the next piece is an E&A transfer for the 2023-24 fiscal year. That is this budget year. It's coming from city retirement, fire retirement, and parks wages, and going to insurances, DPW retirement. You have a motion to move this?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, and just for the public, there are individual explanations on each transfer for each account with this ordinance. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
All right. Proposed ordinance 14, no parking at all times, sponsored by Councilmember Aiello.
Mr. President, can I just have a point of order for 1 second?
Yes.
Because I apologize, I wasn't at the pre-committee meeting. But for the transfer, is that going to be a continuous thing with the Board of E&A transfers with the explanation at the bottom?
Can be.
I mean, it really is nice.
That's how, no, that's how she's doing it.
I mean, I saw it earlier, and I just, I just hope that that continues.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's Diana Corey doing that, actually. So you're aware, yes. All right, no parking at all times, was sponsored by ILO. Who's second? It was Burmaster, okay. Be it ordained, Section 2, 16-360, Schedule E, no parking at all times on the northern curb line of Columbia Street from the pedestrian crosswalk to a point 112 feet west to the first marked parking space. No parking at all times on Columbia Street.
Six and seven.
Councilman Beatrice and Williamson. Would you like to vote on this no parking legislation?
9 yeas adopted.
All right. Next piece is sponsored by the minority and majority leader. Someone will have to move it.
Motion to move, Mr. President.
All right. It is placement of an honorary street sign. Would you like me to read this?
That'd be very kind of you, sir.
All right, thank you. Whereas it is the custom of the Common Council of the City of Utica to recognize those who have had a positive impact on the community, and whereas Lucretia DeSantis Hunt has been a pillar in her community for decades, helping others and constantly giving back to the city she loves, and be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica authorizes the placement of an honorary street sign at the corner of Bleecker Street and Cassuth Ave, naming it Lucretia DeSantis Hunt Corner, to honor and recognize her for many years of dedicated service to the city. Further resolved, that this resolution be inscribed in the minutes of the Common Council meeting held this 20th day of December, 2023.
Mr. President, I do just want to note that these are full council.
Yes.
We already waived Thursday rule, right?
That one we didn't need it for.
Motion to waive the Thursday
Or
rule,
wait,
Mr.
did we?
President.
Second?
Yeah.
I thought it was the other one.
Nah, it's this one.
Okay.
12:18.
Okay. Before we call the vote,
Motion to waive.
that was already made by DeBrango. You want to second it? Any opposed? It's waived. Now we can take the vote. Thank you.
9 yeas adopted.
All right. And would someone else like to waive the Thursday rule for the rest of the
Make a
meeting?
motion to waive the Thursday rule for all subsequent legislation, please.
All right.
Mr.
Seconded by
President.
multiple people, so I'll just say any opposed. All right. Thursday rule's waived. The next piece is proposed resolution number 16.
Yeah, this is full
Sponsored by, well, this is full council. They're all full council. Would someone like to move this? It's moved by Miola. All right, seconded by multiple people. I'm going to call it Williamson. This is a proclamation for Frank DeBrango Jr.
Do you have the hard copy so we can do the frames? Huh?
Ran out of frames.
Frames are in order.
Yeah. I saw him trying to steal frames from some random office. I told him this is order more, right? No, I'm going to read this.
I'd like it in
actually.
gold print as well, no.
All right. Councilman DeBrango, would you like me to read this? No, I mean, I would like to read it. Is it okay if I can? Okay, all right. Thank you. I didn't know if you had anyone else in mind. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Utica has a proud history of recognizing those members who have gone above and beyond in their duty to serve the residents of our great city. And whereas Frank DeBrango Jr. has lived, worked, and raised his family in Utica. He was educated locally at T.R. Proctor High School and Mohawk Valley Community College before taking jobs with MVCC and the Mohawk Valley Water Board. On October 7th, 1989, Frank was sworn in as a City of Utica firefighter. He would go on to serve the department with distinction for 20 years, retiring in 2010. And whereas a 3-term Common Council member, Frank has been instrumental in the passing of legislation that aligns with his core values: public safety, resident quality of life, and the continued economic development of the city that he loves. And whereas while his contributions are many, they would not have been possible without the love and support of his wife, children, close friends, and community supporters, and be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica does hereby recognize that and thank Frank DeBrango Jr. for all of his service, past, present, and future, and that further resolved that this tribute will forever be a part of the minutes of the meeting of the Utica Common Council held on this 20th day of December 2023. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. The next piece is also full council. Proposed resolution number 17. Would someone like to move this?
Motion to move.
Okay, is there a second? Councilman DeBrango's the second. I would like someone else to read
I kind
this.
of want you to read it yourself,
No,
though,
I'm-
to talk about
Do you
talk
want me
about
to?
yourself.
It's completely ridiculous.
I'm kidding. I'll read it.
Um,
I'll read it. So,
all
a
right.
proclamation honoring President Michael Galimi. Whereas Michael Galimi, a 43-year-old married father of two, has been a dedicated public servant for a large part of his life. Upon graduating from T.R. Proctor High School, his path continued at the University of Rochester, obtaining a Bachelor of Science degree in optics from the School of Engineering, a certificate of personnel management, and a concentration in music. And whereas by dedicating his time coaching Little League for the past several years, Mike has, in his continued service to the city, has also been a member of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and has served 8 great years as Common Council President. And whereas with strong awareness in business and management and a lifetime of community contributions, Mike is moving on to his next adventure as mayor of the city of Utica. And whereas the city of Utica will remember him for advocating for the community and for the integrity and honesty he brought to the council as a whole during his time as president. And whereas be it proclaimed that the city of Utica Common Council hereby recognizes Michael Galimi for his dedicated service to the city of Utica. And be it further proclaimed that the members of this council extend their gratitude and well wishes and look forward to Mike putting his private sector experience in personnel management, project development, and team building to work as he continues to serve the city he loves. And be it further proclaimed, this proclamation will forever be inscribed into the minutes of the City of Utica Common Council meeting on this 20th day of December 2023. Congrats,
you.
Mike.
Thank you.
Nine E's adopted.
My wife's always making me fun of me for that too. Yeah. The slow clap. It's an affliction. The next piece this evening is proposed resolution number 18. It is full council. This is a proclamation honoring Councilmember Celeste Friend. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you very much. Would you like me to read this? Is that all right? Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to acknowledge everyone to see if they want me to read it. If anyone else has anyone in mind, that's fine as well. A proclamation honoring Councilmember Celeste Friend. Whereas Celeste Friend, the youngest of 7 in a family with parents who had a diverse life experience, arrived in Utica over 20 years ago. In 2005, Celeste made a commitment and purchased a home in Utica. Whereas as a union member of the United University Professions, running the Colorscape Shenango Arts Festival and working with Levitt AMP, Celeste also sat on the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and served on the Common Council as the 3rd Ward Council member since 2019. Be it proclaimed that the City of Utica Common Council recognizes Celeste Friend for her dedicated service to the city, and be it further proclaimed that this proclamation will forever be inscribed into the minutes of the City of Utica Common Council meeting on this 20th day of December 2023. Thank you. Your votes.
9 E's adopted.
The next piece, proposed resolution 19, is full council. Would someone like to move this?
Second.
Burmaster, Friend. All right. Proclamation for Councilmember Frank Miola.
I'll take a turn reading one.
Okay. All right.
Whereas the members of the Common Council are elected to be the voice of their community and to represent the city that they love, and whereas Frank Miola has held many different seats on the Common Council over the years, but regardless if he was serving the 4th District, the city at large, or leading the council as its president, Frank never backed down from a challenge and did everything with the city's best interest in mind. And whereas the 4th District Councilman and Majority Leader, Frank sponsored many ordinances, resolutions, and local laws that would uplift and give back to the community that raised him. A proud Utican, Councilman Miola was instrumental in the planning and construction of the new inclusive playground erected at Proctor Park, as well as the smart speed tracking devices installed on the Memorial Parkway. And whereas the Common Council as a whole will miss his leadership and dedication to the people, and be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica does hereby recognize and thank Frank Miola for his service to our great city and the people within it, and wishes him well on the next chapter of his life, and further resolved that this tribute will be forever a part of the minutes of the meeting of the Utica Common Council held on this 20th day of December 2023.
Thank you very much.
9 E's adopted.
the next piece is a proclamation for Freeman and Foot Jewelers, which also is full council. Would someone like to move this? All right. Second from Miola. All right, this proclamation for Freeman and Foot Jewelers reads as follows. Whereas Freeman and Foot Jewelers has been an integral part of the community in downtown Utica since its establishment in 1925, and whereas Freeman and Foot Jewelers, spanning 3 generations, has devoted nearly a century to serving the community with dedication, passion, and expertise in the world of jewelry and watches, and whereas Heidi Foot has carried forward the legacy of her family with unwavering commitment, fostering an environment of joy, love, and cherished memories for the countless individuals and families in downtown Utica. And whereas that the Common Council of Utica expresses its deepest gratitude to Freeman and Foot Jewelers for their remarkable contribution to the community over the past 98 years, and now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council joins with the citizens of Utica in bidding farewell to Freeman and Foot Jewelers, expressing our sincere gratitude for the lasting contributions they have brought to the city of Utica for nearly a century. Be it further resolved that this proclamation will forever be inscribed into the minutes of the City of Utica Common Council on this 20th day of December, 2023. Your votes.
9 yeas adopted.
We have 2 more pieces from the packet this evening. Proposed resolution number 21 is a resolution approving the granting of a permanent easement to Niagara Mohawk and Verizon for ice rink.
Motion to move, Mr. President.
Second, thank you. There's a map. There's a electrical subway, if you will, that has to be.
So they didn't figure this out before they decided to put an ice rink there?
Well, the easement is now being granted. Yeah, I'm not sure of the particulars, but there's a map included, and the easement is described in the memo.
I mean, I see the memo, but, I mean, again, nobody's here to explain the actual meeting.
So,
I mean, it is.
so the only thing I can say is National Grid kind of just gives me these and says we need them, get them done. That's really how it works for them. I don't have a lot of leeway. I get the easement, when I get the easement and they tell me to do it and we need it, so.
I mean, I would kind of like to hear a little more about the ice skating rink, so, I mean, that's kind of my perspective, that if we can hold off.
Motion to
until we
move.
get
We're
something
moving
in,
it, so you already
that'd be
moved it.
appreciated. 'Cause, I mean,
It's up to the council. If you'd like to
the
make a
ice rink-
preceding
the ice rink
motion.
is costing us a little more than expected, so I kind of want to know if the easement.
The
is
easement
going along with that.
is simply
I
just.
understand what an
Yeah.
easement is.
No, but I mean, the map is just showing the wires that are run. Yeah, I'm just.
I just kind of would like to hear a little more about the actual project, seeing how we're spending an excess amount of money on it. So, I mean, it's just.
So,
No, it doesn't. I'm
all right.
well aware of what an easement
No,
is.
let me retain the floor back over here. So this particular easement obviously does not have any bearing on the current cost or future costs to complete the project. And this did come from National Grid, but it is also a resolution. So it does not need unanimous approval this evening. So unless there's a preceding motion to place this in committee,
Let's move the
we're
vote,
gonna
Mr. President.
move to a vote.
Move to vote.
Is there a motion?
They already made the motion, so obviously they want to vote.
Okay, your votes. Thank you.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you. I am going to read
You have to
the,
read that into the record. Mr.
current,
President, yeah.
the pertinent piece of the legislation. Whereas Niagara Mohawk and Verizon require a permanent easement from the city of Utica on lands more specifically described in the attached grant of easement for the purposes of providing high and low voltage electric current and for transmission of intelligence and communications data for public and private use in Roscoe Conkling Park for the new ice rink. And whereas such easement is authorized subject to the approval of the Common Council of the City of Utica, it is now therefore be it resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute the appropriate grant of easement and other documents necessary to effectuate this resolution. This was approved by how many votes?
8.
8 yeas, adopted. Thank you. All right, the final piece in the packet this evening, I believe there's other things in committee we may be dealing with. The final piece in the packet is a proclamation for Mayor Robert M. Palmieri. This is full council.
Yes, Mr. President, please.
Well, do you want to be on there? All right. We've got 8 people on it?
Yep.
Any other takers? All right, we got 8. It's all right. Is there a second? Thank you. First and second. Is there anyone in the council that would like to read this, or am I moving on?
It would
with
be our privilege for you to read it.
All right,
into the
thank you very
record, Mr.
much.
President.
Proclamation for Mayor Robert M. Palmieri. Whereas the history of the city of Utica is one of great leaders fostering the feeling of family in the community. Mayor Robert M. Palmieri is the most recent mayor in a long time of great leaders to guide the city. And whereas Robert M. Palmieri was born and raised in Utica, attending T.R. Proctor High School and Mohawk Valley Community College, prior to becoming mayor, he would serve as councilman for East Utica, a position he would hold for 14 years. And whereas, in 2011, Mayor Palmieri took office facing financial crisis. The City of Utica General Fund had a balance of negative $15,000, a fiscal stress score of 74%, and had to borrow money just to make payroll. Over the next 12 years, Mayor Palmieri would take the city from the verge of bankruptcy to the second fastest growing city in New York State in a general fund balance of $14 million. And whereas he would lead the city through a pandemic, bring in countless businesses, and lead the charge in bringing a new hospital to downtown Utica, with his focus set on public safety and economic development, Mayor Palmieri has forever left his mark on our great city by bringing the Utica University Nexus Center and the Wolfspeed silicon carbide wafer fabrication facility to life. Mayor Palmieri also left improvements to the city's park system, brought down the elevated levels of lead in the city, renovated numerous buildings across the city, and invested in the city's infrastructure. And be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Utica does hereby recognize and thank Mayor Robert M. Palmieri for all the dedication and time he has invested in the City of Utica. You have succeeded in making Utica the best little city in America. Further resolved that this tribute will forever be a part of the minutes of the meeting of the Utica Common Council held on this 20th day of December 2023. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
All right, we have things in committee.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to dismiss introductory local law number 1.
Second, Mr. President.
Okay. Any opposed to dismissing and dispensing of that introductory local law from committee? It's been dispensed.
We'd like to move bond ordinance number 3 dated 12/06.
All right, just give me a moment to pull that from the,
No, it's the first one.
Traffic Island bond ordinance. Here we go.
1.12 million.
Yeah.
Do. Getting there, sorry. Okay.
It's a serial bond for 1.120.
Proposed
000.
ordinance 3, is there a second to pull this from committee? Any opposed for pulling this from committee? Bond ordinance dated December 6th, 2023 is on the floor for a vote. This bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $1.12 million in serial bonds of the City of Utica, Oneida County, New York, to finance the cost of certain capital projects. I won't read the entire legislation, however, in Section 1, it is described as parks, playgrounds, and recreational areas. The original improvement or embellishment of existing parks, playgrounds, and/or recreational areas at a maximum estimated cost not to exceed $470,000. And B, parking areas. The reconstruction of parking areas, whether or not including sidewalks, curbs, gutters, drainage, or landscaping, at a maximum estimated cost not to exceed $650,000. Section 15, this ordinance, which takes effect immediately, shall be published in full or summary form in the Observer's Batch, the official newspaper, together with notice of the city clerk and substantially the form provided in Section 81 of the local finance law. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to move the resolution approving the agreement to operate and manage the Utica Zoo.
Okay, is there a second to pull that from committee?
I thought we were keeping that in committee. that was staying in committee.
If there's a motion and second to pull it from committee,
Oh,
in the
okay. I'm gonna have
process
to
of the
vote
motion. All right.
You just keep doing
Motion,
it.
second,
You keep
Celeste
giving
had the
people
second,
an
or
inch and
No, I
Councilperson
didn't have a
Friend.
second. No.
Oh, Councilperson Aiello, okay.
Yep.
Any
I wanted to
opposed?
speak to it.
Any opposed to pulling that from committee? Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, okay. It's on the floor.
I'd like to speak to this resolution, please.
You
I'm
have the
sorry.
floor, Councilperson Friend.
So, I'm going to make a motion in a few minutes, or in a minute, to amend this agreement to scale it back to 2 years rather than 15. I think 15 is much too long. The only contribution, although I shouldn't say only, the contribution the city makes to the zoo is a sizable portion of land, and then we plow their parking lot. So that sizable portion of land, but we don't contribute directly to their budget. They did get a big ARPA gift, but we don't contribute to their budget. They're financially independent of us. So the only real leverage that the city has over the zoo is the lease on the land itself. And I think 15 years is far too long to give away all that leverage, to be outside of a position of making any influence on the zoo. So the first thing I want to say is that I think the zoo is an absolute treasure. We're so lucky to have a zoo. Most small cities like us don't have such a thing. I know that it's much beloved by families. I have friends who go every single Saturday with their granddaughter. The zoo is a really important asset to the city. But it has faced some really serious management problems in the last year and a half or so. A year ago, their USDA license was pulled because they failed an inspection and were violating the Animal Welfare Act. They had an inspection, were told certain things they needed to fix. The subsequent inspection, they hadn't fixed any of them, and so the USDA pulled their license to operate, gave them, I think, a week or 10 days, fixed things, went back, they had fixed them, their license was reinstated, and you may remember that they were closed down in that period. Their license was pulled. They were not allowed to operate. That was like a year and a half ago. During that period, they also lost their accreditation. The American Zoo Association pulled their accreditation. So that was like a year and a half ago. More recently, a zookeeper was attacked by a lion. Luckily injured, but not too seriously. This was because the zoo does not have standard safety protocols in place whereby you only enter a lion's enclosure with 2 staff people. They allow single zookeepers to go into lion enclosures. This is not standard protocol for zoos. Luckily, the zookeeper was injured, badly injured, but is recovered, made a full recovery. It could have easily been much, much worse. I think that the city needs to use the leverage that it has in order to influence the zoo to figure out what their management problems are. I think it would be just an absolute tragedy if the city lost the zoo. If what happened recently with that lion attack had been worse, we would have permanently lost the zoo. Someone could have died. The lion would have been killed had that person died. That itself is also standard protocol. And the USDA would have permanently pulled the license. So I would just like it if the next administration had the opportunity in a couple of years to use the leverage. So I am going to make a motion that we amend this legislation so that it reads 2 years rather than 15.
The agreement. It's
Mr.
the agreement,
President?
Mr. President. Second.
Yeah,
the
not the
agreement.
legislation.
Mr. President?
Oh,
I'm sorry,
you
yeah.
want to know what,
Can I
Mr.
speak
President?
on
I'd
this?
actually like to make that amendment because then they actually have to bring this piece back to the law department. So I'll second Celeste's motion so that the council can't vote on it tonight.
Okay. So we have a second with a justification.
So, can
You
I?
can't just amend the law.
I agree.
It's just 5 years.
Okay, but can I say something? If we're doing everything that she's saying, that it's that bad, why would we give it to them for anything? Why wouldn't you keep it in committee, let them come to us and talk about it? She's just saying all this terrible stuff, but we're going to say it's okay. We're not going to give it to you for 15 years. We're going to let you do it for 2.
Hold on. Well, 2 things. One, I think the purpose of the 2 is to allow the zoo to continue to operate, but then at the same time, have some kind of leverage to call that into question again within 2 years, right? So I'm just right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Point
All
of
right.
order, but
Then,
it's still a motion on the floor.
Exactly, that's, I'm
So
getting to that.
we gotta finish that motion.
The second thing is, what Councilmember Colosimo Testa is stating is if you pass this motion, it is effectively going to go back into committee after it's amended, and then it's going to go back to the law department anyhow. So what you're saying is going to happen. Okay, you're
So I second Celeste's motion. Can we process the motion on the floor, please?
Mr.
All right.
President, I also have a question on the matter.
Mr.
Yes.
Can't we just, on the actual resolution, add an amendment where it says like, whereas, under the condition this is done for 2 years?
No, can't do that.
I'm asking the president.
Right, but we just had
I'm
a
asking
meeting.
the president. It's my
The-
floor.
Yeah, point of order. It's Councilperson Aiello has the floor. The agreement is what's being amended, not this resolution. So which is right here in the packet, if Councilperson Friend would like to amend this as stated by Councilperson Colosimo Testa, that would then get kicked back to Corporation Council for review.
Why must it therefore get put, why does the council not have the authority to amend the memo?
I can't answer that question because I don't have an answer, but I do think we technically do have the authority to, since we are the legislative body.
Right.
But I would
Doesn't
like
re-
I would like the special counsel to the council to comment.
The agreement is a document between the Zoological Society and the City of Utica. We don't negotiate the agreement. We can, you can, by not passing the resolution, say you have some question about the agreement and like them to revisit it. So we're not going to touch the agreement because that was negotiated by the city and the zoo. What we will do is you either pass the resolution or you place it in committee with a recommendation that the Corporation Council talk to the administration and see if they want to re-enter into a different negotiation. I think that that is something between the parties. We are not a party. The city of Utica is. So if you don't want to pass the resolution approving the agreement, then, because it was already amended at the request of Councilwoman Testa. And Charlie Brown did the amendment. He talked to me about it. I had no problems. I talked to Mr. Giorgio tonight. There were no problems. I didn't know about this motion. So there's only one action by you. Either you put the resolution in committee. You can vote on the resolution too because it's a resolution. It is not an ordinance. And if you could do one of two things, I don't recommend that you amend the contract. I do believe that you have two options. Vote on it or make a motion to place it in committee, which will take 5 votes.
I have a third
That's all.
option, which I think you might find
Right.
acceptable.
What's that?
Councilperson Friend, would you like to rephrase your original motion stating that you would like to attach the recommendation to the agreement to modify the contract to a two-year agreement?
Point of order, Mr. President, that
You could also just amend this,
you
please put
actually,
it back in committee, and
you
then they would have.
cannot do that, though. I mean, you have to amend the actual memo. You cannot just pass the resolution with the recommendation that it
I
get
don't think
amended.
you guys are passing it right now. I'm not saying that.
All right, so can we do the favor and let the motion process of whether or not her,
Well, no,
her
because I
motion to
believe what they're
amend?
saying is the motion that I made was to amend the contract, and I can't.
Right.
So that we should all vote down. It's on, it
Well,
needs to
no,
be.
you don't have to vote it down. You could modify your motion on the floor.
And now, and what was your suggestion, Mr. President?
That you attach the recommendation to request that the agreement be modified to 2 years.
But it still has to come back to the council.
It will.
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back.
that
Right.
makes it come back to the council.
But you can't pass a resolution without amending the memo.
They're not.
Not a recommendation.
So
Right,
I'd like
so
to
you're not-
amend, I'd like to
You know, I
revise
wish
my
that-
Then why not
motion.
leave it in committee?
I wish that
We're passing an
members of the
official
council-
recommendation.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Stop talking about legal ramifications
Right.
to non-legal people. You either pass the resolution or you don't. And the reason you don't is because you want them to consider something else. The negotiation is by them. So if you're not going to pass the resolution, fine. But if there's a motion to adopt the resolution as it exists, all it needs is 5 votes. So I think there's your in-between. It all depends how you feel about the term. So those of you who think the term is too long and would like to have the administration renegotiate, then you wouldn't pass the resolution tonight, wouldn't vote for it. I mean,
I appreciate that, Judge.
You can't make up scenarios that really do not
We had a
exist
committee meeting
legally.
earlier, and we were
So-
told that it was staying in
I've
committee.
given you
Otherwise,
two
this would have been
options.
discussed in a little further
here's-
explanation. So
I'm giving
again,
the legal
here we are.
version of what you're doing.
So here's how we're gonna move on. Here's how we're gonna move on. We're gonna finish the current motion, and then we're either gonna vote on this, or it's gonna go back in committee. That's it. So how would you like to restate the motion? You could just literally make a recommendation.
So I would like to revise my motion to make a recommendation that this piece remain in committee and that Corporation Council and the new administration consider revising the agreement to 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we didn't discuss the 2 years until today.
We're good.
Yeah.
So anyone second the recommendation to Corporation Council to? Okay. Your votes on that motion to make the recommendation.
We're making a recommendation to keep something in committee that's already in committee.
No, you're making a recommendation to direct Corporation Council to renegotiate the terms of the contract so that they can come back. All right. All right.
Just make
So
an
it's still
amendment.
staying in committee.
Yes.
That's, yes.
But with a recommendation.
Which was always understood. So your votes on this motion?
To keep it in committee.
No,
With a
just the
recommendation.
motion to make the recommendation
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm trusting anymore.
It's simple.
We are
We're
recommending
just asking Corporation
that the
Council.
administration consider changing the agreement to
We got
2 years.
3 more.
Recommendation passes or
District
fails.
2, 3, and 5. We're waiting. All right, we got 2 more. 2 more. Let's go. All right, there it is. All right, very good.
8 yeas.
All right, so the recommendation will be made. Now,
Motion to refer to committee as amended, Mr. President.
No, the recommendation was made. This wasn't amended.
Yeah,
You
but
want to put this back
we
in
pulled it
committee?
out. We pulled it out.
Your
We didn't amend
motion
it.
Did not pass.
We didn't amend
To
it.
pull it out, Frank.
We made an actual motion on the floor to request Corporation Council to renegotiate the terms.
Thank you.
But the
Okay.
contract, we're not touching per the judge. The resolution, we're not touching per the judge. So would you like to put this resolution back in committee?
Yes, please.
Second?
Motion, yeah, thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
Thank you.
Any opposed? It's back in committee.
Well done.
All right. There's more things in
Oh,
committee.
yes, Mr. President. Right, get to the next piece.
We
and
got
hopefully
past
our
the
final
zoo.
piece.
We got past the zoo. You hear that pun?
Final piece for the year, Mr. President. Ordinance
Try
number,
pun.
ordinance number 5, the bond ordinance for the paving, Mr. President.
All right. All right. Very thick packet this evening. Sorry about that. Where did it go? Oh, I got it. All right, thank you. Okay, proposed ordinance 5 dated 12/4/2023. Sorry, dated 12/6/2023. Motion? To
Motion, Mr. President.
Pull from
Move.
committee, is that the motion?
Yes, sir.
Who's the second? Aiello's the second. We need to say any opposed to pulling from committee. All right, it's on the floor for a vote. This is a bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of $2.5 million of serial bonds of the city of Utica, Oneida County to finance the cost of street paving projects. Your votes.
8 yeas adopted.
Okay.
Mr. President, before we close the meeting, for Wednesday, January 3rd, I'd like to call a committee meeting at 5 o'clock of,
I'm gonna go and say you gotta wait for the new council.
no, we
to
don't.
exist.
I talked to Judge Garamone earlier. So we have to call a committee meeting at 5 o'clock, and then we have to call a special council meeting at 6
Oh,
o'clock
you're
on
talking about
Wednesday.
the organizational stuff.
Yes.
Whatever you guys wanna do, go for it.
Okay, so I'd
won't
like
be
to make a
council
motion
president.
to call a committee meeting.
My
at-
recommendation is that this council, because nobody else can schedule the next meeting.
Yes.
You will have, by law, an organization meeting, because the statute says so. And I recommend, if you want to do it at 5 o'clock, there'll be a special meeting of organization at 5 o'clock. The regular meeting of the Common Council on the 3rd will remain noticed as being at 7 o'clock. That's my recommendation, is that you pass that tonight, so that the clerk can
organizational
schedule
meeting
both.
at 5,
And
that's
the
all.
notice of a special meeting of organization at 5 o'clock by this Common Council,
Wednesday.
because there'll be new people.
I would like
and-
to-
And this regular meeting will be at 7.
I'm going to call back the floor. All very good suggestions. You guys can do that. I would also like to suggest that the new council confer with the new council president and get together and figure out when the organizational meeting will be so that that can be scheduled
Right,
through
but-
the new order of the council.
That's not the way that it plans out, because we have to have an organizational meeting at the
I'm
January
aware.
3rd meeting.
And
So
for the past,
therefore,
for
the
the past
council,
8 years, I've called 4 organizational meetings as
we
council
gotta have
president.
an agenda, so we gotta set it, but this
And-
council
and-
has to do it.
Ex-
So can I make the motion
You can
to
make a
call a
motion.
special committee meeting on January 3rd at 5 PM?
And this council cannot call a meeting for the next council. But go for it. All right, there's a second.
We can't do it. So why should we
Right,
vote
so
on it?
Judge, you're wrong, I apologize.
I-
They say not to
It's,
argue with
it's
council,
okay.
argue with-
It's all right. Moving on. Anyone?
That's it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, perfect. Thank you.